Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about the new Borat movie. That's right, Sacha Baron Cohen has released a sequel to Borat just in time for this year's election season. That's right, Borat was a previously funny movie and franchise and a character which Sacha spun off from his Ali G show that was on HBO back in the day. And believe it or not, this actor used to be pretty hilarious a lot too. His Borat movie was a big hit. He did some follow-ups like a Bruno movie. He had some other ones too. He used to be really good, but recently he's gotten woke like the rest of Hollywood, like a lot of comedians and actors. He's kind of ruined his credibility by overly focusing on bashing Trump, by not just being open and bashing both sides like what he used to do. He used to be pretty unbiased and going after everyone, but now he's obviously targeting Trump, targeting people on Trump's team, and that's what brings us to today's story. Today's story involves the Borat movie staging a fake interview with Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani works for Trump, works with Trump. He's a famous lawyer. He used to be the mayor of New York City. He's a great American guy who admittedly is a bit of a character too. He's kind of a wild card. Some people goof on him. He has a bit of an over-the-top personality, so he's definitely not immune to satire and being messed with. But the problem with this story is a couple of reasons. First of all, they kind of fake this whole scene with Giuliani pretending he does something inappropriate with a reporter, and it's kind of cut and edited out of context and put into this joke movie, and that's not the real problem. I mean, that happens all the time. It's kind of expected with Borat and these Sacha Baron Cohen films. They involve a lot of reality, a lot of kind of prank style videos. They film people and get their reactions and stuff like that. But the problem with it is the news and the media, they're taking this seriously and they're reporting on it like it's interesting or like it's a real story or like it wasn't just some kind of joke, some kind of fabrication for the Borat film. Like, I think it's a given that most of these things are not newsworthy. If there is some sort of interesting thing that happens, some kind of scandal, it's not actually what you think. And that's what's the case with this story. We'll get to the specifics. We have proof in the full unedited video that you could check for yourself. But basically, they're taking this Rudy Giuliani scene from Borat and the media is reporting on it. And that's totally ridiculous. It's like reporting on a fiction, reporting on fake news. And on top of that, you got to remember what else is going on right now. Right now, we have this big Hunter Biden story breaking. Joe Biden is the candidate for the Democrats. It's been revealed that he's involved with his son. He got his son a job in Ukraine. Joe Biden gets a kickback from that. He's supposed to get 10% of whatever Hunter and their illegal enterprises take in. So that's all coming out. The media is totally ignoring that real story, though. They're totally ignoring that laptop, which is verifiable. It's been proven. It's been conferred by other business partners with the Bidens. So it's true stuff, but the media doesn't want to talk about it. They instead want to talk about this fake scene from a Borat movie. Totally insane. And it just shows how crazy this year is going and how crazy 2020 has been. So here's a tweet from Allison. It says, while you were watching the debate, Matthew Dessum was doing journalism. And his journalism, this article is called A Shot-by-Shot Analysis of the New Borat Giuliani Scene. So their version of news isn't watching the debate between the two candidates. They don't want to talk about real breaking information coming from a leaked laptop hard drive. No, they want to talk about this fake scene in a Borat movie. That's real journalism, according to this Allison person. According to a lot of the media, they think this is more interesting. And like I said, it's more political. Like, it's obvious that Borat is targeting a Giuliani type character, someone he could get to in Trump's camp. And it makes sense too, because there's this thing that they say that Giuliani basically takes interviews and calls and he does appearances with anyone. Like, he's pretty open about the public, which is kind of a good thing, but also it appears to have gotten him in trouble here. He didn't get to screen his interview schedule enough, and that's why all of a sudden he's talking to Borat. Like, the basic premises, let me go ahead and break that down now that we got to it, was first of all, Borat movies involve this character from Sacha Baron Cohen. He's like a fake reporter from Kazakhstan or some made-up country in the Middle East area, and he comes to America and does interviews, and his original premise was him coming to America and seeing the country and enjoying different stuff, and it was just a funny thing. It wasn't even necessarily political in the beginning. Like, sometimes he would just go to a restaurant or a landmark or something random and talk to people and maybe goof on them or have a goof himself. It's the basic setup is he's a character and he goes out in the real world and gets real reactions. And in this case, with Rudy Giuliani coming up to the new movie, he got him to do an interview, and they have this fake reporter chick on the Borat movie, and it's this blonde chick. She's really pretty. She's asking Giuliani questions. You could see in the video she like kind of flirts with him, and they try to create create this kind of controversy where, I don't know, they're trying to push it towards him getting too friendly with the girl. And basically what happens if you watch the movie side of it, there's just some random scene where Giuliani is laying down and he puts his hands down below his waist, like down low. And it looks kind of inappropriate when you cut it out of context and you see it on Borat and they're trying to make a joke. And that's all fine. Actually, I'm not even against the movie making their own laughs there. But the fact that the media reports on it is what's more ridiculous, and they're ignoring the Biden story, obviously. And in addition, I have a video here. I don't know how much I can really show you the actual video, the full-length video. You could see him with the reporter here. It shows you a lot more context and what actually happened. Here's the reporter with the hand on his knee, just flirting with him up front, trying to get friendly. And essentially what happens is, what really happened was he was getting a microphone put on his shirt and it had to untuck the shirt for a moment. And I think the reporter tries to help him with the microphone and it turns into him tucking his shirt back in. And that last tuck in is what they cut out to make it look like it was inappropriate, like he was reaching for himself. But really, he's just put on a microphone, tucking his shirt in. It was a big setup. And that's the most I could show of that video. And that's really what happened. I mean, that's the end of the story. But these news reporters are still putting it out there like it's some big bombshell when it's not. And I think it's actually even more related to the Biden story. This is another point we didn't even get to address yet. But Giuliani is the one who's breaking the Biden story. He's the one who investigated and found the laptop and released the stuff to the public. He sent it to newspapers and stuff like that. So I think it's very, very fitting and very coincidental. I don't think it's actually coincidental. It's actually intentional that Borat is attacking Giuliani here. I don't know if he knew that up front because this was filmed a little while ago, but I think it is part of the reason the reporters are picking up on the Giuliani story instead of picking up on the story Giuliani shared that makes the Biden candidate look really, really bad and corrupt. So that all is related there. There's a lot to unpack, but I think we got through it. So now let's revert back to this article and see what the fake news people say about this sort of silly joke in a fake movie. Sacha Baron Cohen's new movie, Borat, subsequent movie film, delivery of prodigious bride to American regime for make benefit once glorious nation of Kazakhstan, ends with an already notorious sequence in which Rudy Giuliani goes into a hotel room with a young woman who he believes is a journalist, stretches out in the bed and sticks his hand into his pants. The woman in question, 24-year-old actress Maria Bakalova, is playing Borat's 15-year-old daughter, Tutar. Tutar, in turn, is pretending to be an of-age journalist as part of a scheme in which she will be offered to Giuliani as a wife for make benefit once glorious nation of Kazakhstan. Those facts are not in dispute, but everything else is, because Giuliani has responded to headlines like Giuliani caught in hotel room scene in new Borat film, and Giuliani's compromising scene in the Borat sequel is another hit to Trump's personal attorney by vociferously denying any wrongdoing. Well, as we already went over, he didn't do anything wrong. He was told he was getting a microphone put on or off. He was tucking his shirt in the scene in question. I mean, yeah, I understand tucking your shirt in can look a little weird sometimes. It can look like it could be going inappropriate, but it's also a thing people do. If you wear a suit like these guys do every day, sometimes you tuck your shirt in. Sometimes you have to have a microphone put on underneath your shirt on the side or something like that. It's just typical interview stuff. He had no idea this kind of setup was going on. This is obviously people trying to set him up. So to believe the story from them, to want to believe that Borat and this whole crew were not setting him up, it's just ridiculous. It's like a punked show. We're talking about a punked type situation. Like Ashton Kutcher did the same kinds of pranks all the time. And the worst part is, can you imagine an Ashton Kutcher episode turning into a news story? Like, why would they report on Ashton Kutcher, say, pranking Justin Timberlake, thinking that he ran over a dog? Like, that's a random idea, but that's like a punked kind of setup. They make it look like Justin Timberlake ran over a dog and they have him freak out and they have him on camera. Someone's pointing at him, yelling or something. That's the kind of level of journalism we're talking about. We're talking about actual fake pranks being taken seriously. Here you could see these other examples of articles going on about this story, and it's mostly because it's Giuliani. Giuliani is Trump's attorney, and in addition, he's breaking the Biden story. There's no mention of the Biden story here, but they're obviously trying to attack the messenger who brought about this really bad story for the Bidens right before the election, and it's ridiculous. And the next thing I want to mention, because we did do a video about Borat before and about this new movie a few weeks back, and they actually changed the name. That's the thing. I noticed that since it's come out and they changed the name, we had a story about the original name, which referenced Mike Pence. It had Mike Pence in the original title, and they were trying to go after him. But for some reason, whatever it may be, they changed the name last minute. I think it might have been because of the controversy. I think they might have been worried about getting sued by Pence reference or something like that. I don't know. They were using it in an inappropriate way. It was risky. So I understand the change, but it's worth noting here since we talked about it before. There are two major issues here. First, and most importantly, no one, least of all Giuliani, should ever again tweet, type, speak, or think the phrase, "We are preparing much bigger dumps." Second, could Giuliani be telling the truth? In a general sense, the answer is yes. You can stitch together real footage in ways that tell a story that isn't true at all. In fact, the new Borat movie does this all the time, including in the immediate lead up to the bedroom scene. So they know it's not true. They're making jokes. They're not taking this seriously. This is just Giuliani talking about how this is a distraction. It's an attack on him because he's releasing these dumps, as he calls them. Information dumps is what they say sometimes. And that information is bad on the Biden family. They're corrupt. They have ties to Ukraine, Russia, China. You know, these countries are all giving millions of dollars to their family, to their trust, to their kind of slush fund. And it's bad news. And that's why the Democrats are so desperate here. That's why they want to find a new story and frame up the man who is revealing the real truths that are verified, by the way. Those truths are verified about the Biden families. Those emails are being confirmed. People have come out against them, other business partners. There's been meetings and stuff like that. So it's pretty damning. And I can understand why the mainstream media is so desperate to slander a Giuliani right now. Like I said, I understand Giuliani is a character. You know, he does some of the dirty work for the Trump campaign. He's the kind of guy you need, though. Sometimes you need someone to be your kind of muscle. This is like a muscle. Trump is like the boss. He's like the muscle. And sometimes he takes a hit too, but that's part of his job. And I think he's doing a great job. And I think this whole year, this election cycle is going to show that the Democrats really blew this one. So with that said, that about wraps things up. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed what you saw. Subscribe if you're new, and see you on the next video.